All right, hi there. My name is Alejandro Gonzalez. I'm one of the Adobe specialists at the University of Arizona. And today we're going to talk about getting started with podcasting using Adobe Audition. And before we even open the program up, I like to give a gentle reminder about file organization and project planning. It's a really good idea to record beforehand if you have a nice external device, and then bring the files in. You can also record in Audition, which is great. Have your sound effects, your music, your script, and any other assets ready and in a folder. And so if we look here, this Audition demo folder, you can actually download it if you go to our resource page. It's somewhere in the details. I have a folder called Music where I can find some music. I have other assets, which is the script, talking about boiling water, pretty exciting, and the logo, in case I want to upload it to Spotify or iTunes. I have sound effects, like the sound of boiling water. And I have my voice files too, like the script itself. Welcome to A Better Cook Pod. So I will show how you can record in Audition as well. And then before we even jump into editing, combining, and recording in Audition, a tiny bit of advice about when you record your audio. So I have some sample audio files here. I have my computer's microphone when the AC is on. Let's have a listen. I'm still on my computer's microphone, but now the air conditioning is also running. All right, let's hear the computer microphone with no AC. This is the microphone on my computer. I'm in my office, the ceiling fan is running, but the AC is not on. So not a lot of background noise, but it does sound a little bit distant and tinny. Then we can hear this Yeti microphone, which I think is like $90 on Amazon. It's a Yeti Blue. Here it is with the AC on. This is my external microphone with the AC running. It's a Yeti Blue. And it probably sounds a lot warmer and full, and then here it is with the AC off. We might not even notice the difference because it's got some pretty good noise cancellation. This is my external microphone with the AC off. So we probably have little to no noise. The ceiling fan is on, but okay. And one thing you might notice is I actually was speaking a little too close or a little too loud. So there was some peaking and distortion, but we'll just work with it. So when you're recording your audio, an external microphone is great. There's also external recording devices like a Zoom recorder. You can get lapel microphones to record with your phone, but isolate yourself somewhere where there is little echo, and hopefully you can survive turning the AC off, which is hard to do here in Tucson, Arizona. All right. Let's put this project together. I'm going to start by opening up Audition. There it is. Okay. And generally when Audition opens up, it kind of gives you this pretty uninviting screen where you're just like, what do I do now? The easiest way, and again, my goal today is to get people started and to demystify. It's a very powerful program, but we're not going to really go into the effects rack and, live recording sessions or anything like that. So I'm just going to go to File, New, Multi-Track Session, because a podcast has multiple tracks, has at least one speaker, probably has a soundtrack, and then maybe even has sound effects. And Audition actually has a template for podcasts, which is right here. So I'm going to name it Audition Demo. And today is 6/14/23. I'm going to go ahead and drop this file in my Audition asset folder. Might as well keep everything together. And then I'm going to see here where it says template. I'm going to choose podcast, which I already had selected, and click OK. Once I click that, it puts me in this multi-track view with a very much more inviting workspace. It's giving me some clues as to what I can put here. I can drop in my host or record my host, my interviewer, sound effects, the music, and then the master channel itself. So this is when I make changes that I want to affect every track in my project. So first, let's talk about preparing a track for recording. So if we look here, we have M for mute, S for solo. So mute will silence that track. Solo will silence all other tracks. And we also have R for record, which I can't click. And we also have I, which is for monitor. So you can live monitor if you're wearing headphones. So what I need to do is tell Audition what my recording input is. And right now I'm in the FX view. So you can see it automatically applies some effects like the speech volume leveler where it helps avoid peaking and distortion. So let's go over to the input output view. And you can see it says there's no input. It's none. It's outputting the master. That's great. So let's go where it says none. And let's see if I have my mono. And right now my mono is set to my display microphone, but I want to use my Yeti microphone. So let's go to audio hardware. And I'm going to say default input is Yeti stereo microphone. It shows up twice because it's a left and right channel. My output can still be my headphones and everything else looks good. So I'll click OK. Go back to my input, Yeti. Let's just do the left channel. And now my little record button exists. So if I were to click record, you can see it's monitoring what I say. If I hit monitor, it would cause an echo because it's just going to play out of my microphone or my speakers. So if I want to record to this track, now all I have to do is hit that bright red record button in the middle center. And now it is recording what I say. You can see our classic waveform here. And I can watch my levels. Generally, if I'm around -6 decibels, which we can catch right here, I know that I'm not going to be too loud or causing distortion. Let's hit stop. Let's see how amazing I sound. And now it is recording what I say. You can see our classic waveform here. And I can watch my levels. Generally, if I'm around okay. Now, you might notice it already is doing some audio magic for us. You can hear background noise cut out all of a sudden, but you can hear it in the very beginning. And that's actually the leveler working. It actually turns the volume up. So let's turn off all the effects here. So I went to FX, and let's listen to it again. This is the raw audio. And now it is recording what I say. You can see our classic waveform here. So in this case, that preset was causing unwanted noise because it was bringing the volume up when it thought it was too quiet, but it was just a pause. Pretty good. And I can watch my levels generally. Okay. So this piece of audio now, I can grab and move around any channel, change its location, any track, excuse me. And you can see they all have different colors, which is nice. At the beginning of each of these and at the end is my fade. So I'm gonna hit the plus sign to kind of zoom this in. I can also grab this bar to change my zoom, and I can move the playhead around, or not the playhead, I can move my track around. The playhead is the blue flag with a red line that just tells you what part of the audio you're playing. So this half black, half white square, if I click and drag that, I have now created a fade, and it's a really nice fade visualizer. I can see it's going to jump up really quick, or I can pull up and go and have a more gradual fade. And we'll do that with a song instead of this. But there's a really easy way to fade your audio in and out. If you see here on the right-hand side, I have something called Essential Sound. And this is how I can make quick and easy adjustments to my audio. So if I identify this as dialogue, I now have the ability to repair, to enhance, and to even do some creative filters if I want. And I also have loudness, which once you have everything laid out can be helpful to have the volume level match each other. I can adjust the volume of the track here as well, although I suggest using the track volume here because if I start cutting this track up after making edits and then I try and adjust the volume, it will only do it to whichever one I have selected. So let's listen to this. And now it is recording what I say. You can see our classic waveform here. There's some useful things like DS, which I'm a little bit of a lazy speaker. There's reduce noise, which we'll try on a noisy track. Reduce rumble, which is also really helpful, especially if you live on on a second and higher floor and you're picking up more building rumble. And dehum will cancel out the kind of electrical hum that most countries kind of have. Ours default is 60 hertz. So let's drop in one of those noisy microphone recordings. So we just saw how to record in Audition, which is great. You can do a live recording, a live podcast interview. You would just enable both tracks and have two microphones. That's something that you could do at one of our podcasting stations. We have one in Catalyst. We have one at the Honors College, and there's going to be more soon. Okay, let's grab this computer microphone with the AC on. Ooh, yeah, we'll drop it right in here. So this is why I say to get your assets all together, because then you can go ahead and just drag and drop files in and not worry about losing where they are and losing linked files in here. So if we listen to this, it's pretty noisy. I'm still on my computer's microphone, and I'm going to go ahead and identify this as dialogue, and I'm going to try reduce noise. And I don't start at 5, I start at like 2. Let's see what that sounds like. I'm still on my computer's microphone, but now the air conditioning is also running. It's probably providing some unwanted noise and hum at this point. I'm still on my computer's microphone, but now the air conditioning is also running. So as you check those boxes and add more, you can start to reduce noise and rumble and hum, but you might notice that my voice becomes more tinny because what it's doing is isolating parts on the audio spectrum. I can try and bring some back by adding an EQ, like background voice. It's probably providing some unwanted noise and hum at this point. And you could try. I'm still on my computer's microphone, but now the air conditioning is also running. What's this? It's probably providing some. Okay, so you could play with that, but what you might notice is I did make a bad audio clip okay, right? I got rid of that noise, but can we make an okay audio clip? Good, I bet we can. Let's give that a shot. I just deleted it. Let's do the computer mic with no AC on. This is the microphone on my computer. I'm in my office. So if we watch as I'm talking, it's not getting near the -6 decibel mark. So I'm going to identify this as dialogue. And one of the first things I'm going to do is turn the volume up. The ceiling fan is running, but the AC is not on. It probably sounds pretty okay, which I'm doing on might sound the like track kind of far away. This is the microphone on my computer. I'm in my office. The ceiling fan is running, but the AC is not on. And we can it probably sounds pretty okay. A little reduced noise. It might sound like I'm kind of far away. This is the microphone on my computer. We might turn it on. I'm in my office. The ceiling fan is running, but the AC is not on. It probably sounds pretty okay. I might sound like I'm kind of far away. This is the microphone on my computer. Okay. I'm in my office. You may or may not have seen what I did. I went to repair and reduced the noise because there was still a little bit. And then I went to clarity and I just hit enhance speech. I guess for a low, I thought I did low. Yeah, for low tone. So that got us a lot better, but compared to using an actual microphone, like the external microphone, it's just already feels usable without any work. So we probably have little to no noise. The ceiling fan is on, but I'm not sure if we can even hear that. And in this case, this is actually an example of my volume being too loud. A microphone like this costs about $70. So I would actually turn that. Oh, and that's because I still
this is my external microphone with the AC off.
But again, I should have re-recorded that because I spoke too loud. Okay, so that is how you can add files, record files, and edit your audio. And again, you want to edit your audio by first before you start splitting and moving clips around, which is something I haven't shown you yet. So let's go ahead and drop the entire boiling water recording in here. And let's hear.
Welcome to A Better Cook podcast.
Okay.
On this episode of ABC, we're going to be talking about...
Now, before I start removing little mistakes that I made and cutting things out, maybe moving things around, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up and get the audio sounding how I like it to, which I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing, but if I were doing this for real, I would put on a nice pair of headphones and really listen in.
About something very basic, how to boil water. There's a lot of confusion about this common kitchen task, so we're going to go over some easy steps to get a better boil. Let's get started. The first step is to choose a pot with a lid. A lid will trap heat
We'll call that good
inside
enough.
the pot, making the water...
And maybe a slightly less volume. And again, I should have recorded that better. And if we keep listening, first and foremost...
Welcome to A Better Cook podcast.
Okay, let's say I want a little bit of space between welcome to a Better Cook podcast. I want to go ahead and cut this clip. And there's a few ways to do that. I can, I think, right click and split. And you can see the keyboard shortcut is Command K or Control K if you're on Windows. So if I press Command K, then I can move this and create a little bit of space between the two. I can also use, I just did my favorite keyboard shortcut, Command or Control Z. I can also use the razor tool. If you look here in the toolbar, I'm on the move tool. If I click razor, I can go and add cuts anywhere in my track. So if you kind of know that you're going to be doing a lot of changes, you can pre-cut things if you like. So if I wanted to cut out the intro, I could just click here and then go back to my move tool, click on it and delete it. But there might be a more familiar way of doing that, which is just to drag the beginning or end of any clip to cut out parts of it. So let's cut out that unnecessary silence, and then let's split this and give a little bit of room. So,
welcome to A Better Cook podcast. On this episode of
okay, and then I think over here
will take longer to boil, so choose the right size for your needs.
Can see I don't have good lung capacity. I got tired after reading all of that. You can see me catch a breath, so I will press Command K or Control K, pull this in, and then move this over. And basically you would do this through your recording unless you actually are really cool and do it in a good take and do your takes over and over again, maybe chunk it out. But it's kind of the user's experience, user's choice.
Welcome to A Better Cook podcast. On this episode of ABC.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start adding some sound effects. When I say we're going to be talking about boiling water, which I think is here,
we're going to be talking about something very basic, how to boil water.
So maybe right here, I'm going to add a boiling water sound, which is very exciting. So over to my sound effects. I like this one more. I'll just drop it right in. And I don't want it to boil for that long, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it in and have it fade out. So we talked about making a fade. I'm going to click and drag this about like that. And you can make it super linear, or you can make it kind of, I don't know what the word is for that, more of a bell curve. And if we press play,
there's a lot of confusion about this.
Okay, so let's adjust that a little more. And that boiling water is way too loud.
How to boil water.
So we can click on that and say it's sound effects and pull the volume down here, or we can use the track volume again.
How to boil water. There's a lot of confusion about this water.
So let's do a little more.
How to boil water.
Okay. Let's do it a little bit more than that.
boil water. There's a lot of confusion about this.
And let's make it shorter. Okay.
There's a lot of confusion about this common.
So as this continues, I could continue finding good points where I would add my sound effects. We talk about adding salt. I think there's a shaker sound. We say turn your stove on, grab a pot. And there are lots of places online where you can find free audio sources that you're allowed to use. That's also linked in our resource page. The best place to start is the Penn State Free Media Library. Just Google it and you'll find sound effects, songs. YouTube has a pretty good music library as well. And you can see I actually put my sound effects in the interview track. It doesn't actually matter, but let's just move it down to feel good about it. All right, let's add the music. Which song do I want? I think this one. Okay, that sounds great. So I'll drop the music in. And now my music's going to be way too loud.
Welcome to a Better Cook podcast.
So let's turn that way down.
On this episode of ABC, we're going to be talking about something very basic: how to boil water.
Now I want to show you something. I'm kind of choosing the volume that I want the music to be at when I'm not talking. And I can actually add something called ducking to this, where if I have identified audio as dialogue and I identify music as music using the Essential Sound panel, Audition can auto duck the song for us, which means when it notices speech, it will drop the volume of the music. So let's do that because it's fun. Music, and then here's ducking. If I check that, it's going to go ahead and measure RMS curves is what it says. You can turn the sensitivity up or down if you want it to be more intense about it. And you can tell it how much to duck, how much to fade, or any of those things. So if we go...
Basic. How to boil water. There's a lot of confusion about this common kitchen.
And you can see it really only noticed a big gap there, but as the podcast continues, there might be more. If I turn the sensitivity up, it would rise and fall more often, which I wouldn't recommend. I find that kind of disorienting, but that's how you can duck. You don't want low sensitivity. Anyway, ducking is a very useful tool if you're trying to give pauses for listeners to kind of absorb what you've said. The music can kind of come back up a little bit to keep us awake and then drop back down when you start talking again. And that's really about it. And I ended up adding that as its own track. I put it in its empty space instead of in the music bed. So you can add tracks just by dropping into empty spots. You can also delete them whenever you want to, but that's okay. We'll leave it. So this is basically the workflow for recording and editing a podcast. It's just some of these little points that people would get hung up on, identifying your audio input, how to cut clips, how to change the volume, how to reduce noise, how to fade. So let's go ahead and fade one more time here. I'm going to fade the intro music.
Welcome to a...
Let's fade it a lot more.
Welcome to a Better Cook podcast. On this episode of ABC, we're going to be talking about something very basic: how to boil water.
Now you can see it unducked, and it actually got louder than my boiling water sound, so I might want to address that as I continue working. But in the interest of keeping my demos not too long, the only other thing I'd like to show you is how to export a finished file of it. So you can do a WAV. There's various lossless ones. MP3 is usually fine. And good practice is, if it's a really important project, export a lossless version of it so that you have a full quality one just in case. Also, remember to save regularly. I'm going to go File Save or Command or Control S. Yep. Oh, it'll move your files over if things are not in the session folder. So I went ahead and said yes, which is going to put them in my documents, but that's okay. So now I'm going to go File, Export, Multi-track Mixdown, and I'm going to do the entire session, which will give me a smushed version of all my tracks. Here you can see your format options. MP3 is usually fine. There are other ones like FLAC, lossless, and WAV, and Apple's AAC. But MP3 is good. Generally, 192 bits is plenty. If it's a really long session, sometimes people drop the kilobits down to 160, but just to keep the file size down. And then we'll click OK. Just kidding, don't click OK yet. Make sure you browse where you want to export. I'm just going to export to my desktop today, which maybe is bad practice, but that's okay. And then I'm going to click. And if you want to change your kilobits, you can click change here. In variable, it's not, I mean, for podcasts, it's not really that helpful, but for complex music files, that can get you higher quality with smaller files. All right, now we're going to click OK. It's exporting, and I didn't really do my job and go to the end and make sure everything ends together. Maybe I need to loop the music a few times. But if we go to my desktop, I see Audition demo, Mixdown.
Welcome to A Better Cook podcast. On this episode of ABC, we're going to be talking about something very basic.
Very fun. So hopefully this encourages you to make your own podcasts. If you're an instructor, it excites you about integrating some more digital literacy into your projects. Podcasts are one of the most accessible ways to engage students in a different way. So best of luck, and make sure you reach out to the UCAT Adobe team if you need anything.